Here is a picture. Anybody recognizes where this is from? Any guesses? Yeah, I think you guys got it right. This is Shibuya crossing, one of the busiest crossing in the world, where like 3,000 people cross at any point of time, kind of thing. Okay, is it cluttered? Not really. I'll come to the reason why I'm showing this. So basically, I want to start with Japan, actually, right? Where there is a lot of things around quality. There is a good utilization of the space, as well as a lot of things around time also. Like one of the things that I have put here is also a bullet train, where a train left 10 seconds earlier, and then they publicized in the national paper, sorry for leaving 10 seconds earlier. Right. So these are some of the qualities that Japan has, but with this also came the declutter part of it, wherein which also where I got inspired, and that's what is the talk around the art of decluttering your Kubernetes cluster. So my name is Vinay, and I'll be talking around the art of decluttering your Kubernetes cluster. I have put a couple of other logos here also where I have worked, and the art of decluttering needs to be there at all these places also, or should have been there. It would be good to do. A lot of companies also need this in terms of their Kubernetes cluster, because every company that I see, I look at their clusters, it always feels that there needs to be something like the famous dialogue from Gang of Wasaipur, right? Faisal sab dekh lega kind of thing. There is somebody you need to help them out to declutter this. So this is what I'm going to talk around today. Okay, and this is basically influenced by Marie Kondo book also, where during COVID I learned a lot of things around art of decluttering, did it at home, then brought it into the software industry also, kind of decluttering our own clusters, right? Because there are a lot of things that are there, and we'll see how to handle it as we go ahead. But obviously the first thing you go and talk to any developer, says, do you want this? He'll say, I need this pod, I need it to run for like a couple of hours kind of thing, and then we forget it. There are a lot of times where it's a, what you call as a emergency kind of thing, or a war room kind of thing, where people just spawn off multiple spots and they forget it kind of thing. So you need a lot of these cleanups that needs to be done, and it has to be disciplined, and that is what we call as the art of decluttering. And my agenda is basically to talk about what, why, and how. Okay, why do I need, or what do you mean by clutter, right? So you have a lot of unused spots, you have a lot of disk space that just lies there, nobody uses it, but you're paying for it. Then also a lot of times what happens is, I don't know, like if you have seen those labels or the alerts that comes from Grafana, where there is a huge set of things and none of us understand why they are there, but it has been added to your cluster kind of thing, right? So it adds to the clutter because you are not actually figuring out where exactly what is happening kind of thing. Same thing with understanding when your systems will go down. Even though you have your own cluster, you have your own set of pods, you don't know what is the maximum limit, or you need to figure out what is the maximum limit your applications can run through. You can auto scale, true, but auto scale does not work always, right? There is a limitations to that. So you need to figure out how do you do auto scaling also, right? So these are some of the issues that we see day in, day out, which actually causes the clutter kind of thing, right? So what happens if there is a clutter? Yeah, so there is cost. Obviously, the cost optimization has become a big thing right now as you go through various things. Quality takes a hit. You also take more time to figure out, okay, where is your actual application running, right? There may be, I don't know if you have seen, there may be sometimes your applications are running in one place and you are going and deploying it some other place, and nobody knows because the person who actually deployed last time already is not there as part of your company kind of thing. There is also sometimes you end up with security problems because you have those clusters that are left kind of thing, right? Okay, how do I identify this, right? So I'm just giving you some of the examples here. These are all very simple commands. That's why we call it as art, because some of the things that we are supposed to do on a day in, day out basis, we don't do, right? So that's why once you start practicing it, it becomes part of you kind of thing, right? So it's as simple as looking at your own notes, figuring out, okay, how much of your CPU is getting used, how much of your RAM is getting used, right? So these things actually help. Similarly, like we just did a CRD yesterday, and there was like 270 CRDs lying there, and we hardly had any of them getting used, kind of thing, right? I just gave you some of the examples. Same thing with Helms. You will have a lot of your deployed applications there which you are not using, and it's just occupying space for you. Right. And these things actually hit us hard when we are looking at it from a cost perspective, when we are looking at, oh, we need to add more machines, kind of thing. And as you increase the number of machines, this discipline actually really helps us to do a lot of things in terms of security, performance, part of it also. Sorry. I'm also giving here one more example of a described node, right? So here, if you see, there are, I don't know how clear it is here, but if you were to look at it, it's more about each of your pods that are there, how much percentage of CPU they are actually taking, and you can actually work on this to make it better, in the sense reduce the number of nodes, maybe use it for some other applications. Maybe what we see, there is a lot of learnings that we actually get from looking at some of these data itself. And these are not like complex commands or anything that you don't, we actually execute them, but we don't look at it in eternity, kind of thing, right? So see what we can do with respect to the usage of our nodes, of our pods itself, kind of thing. Yeah, also the other part is looking at what we have in terms of the labels. I think labels becomes very interesting part also, because they actually help us in lot of ways in terms of reducing your cost. When you actually look at the cloud itself, right, or the cloud native like AWS kind of thing, there are a lot of options where you can actually put labels. And this labels actually helps you to figure out, okay, where are you spending a lot of time on, right? And also helps to figure out, okay, which are the applications which are taking a lot of space, which are the applications which are taking a lot of money, right? And this is where you actually go into and say, okay, I want to declutter this part of it, and you can play around with this. How do you declutter it? Here is one more place where you can go and see how is your entire cluster working, and part of it. So this is the tool that we actually use. I think everybody knows what tool is this and kind of thing, but we actually used it at Opsverse. How actually we actually look at our pods and say how is the efficiency of the entire cluster itself, kind of thing. All right. And this also helps us multiple ways by looking at this day in, day out to see the efficiency part of it, right? So we basically look at only two things that you want. What is your memory, what is your CPU, what is your disk usage, kind of thing. And as you go ahead, we can keep reducing it. At some point, you know, okay, this is my optimum thing. And it's mostly about, the art is basically mostly about discipline, rather than saying, okay, we don't do this or we don't. Everybody executes these commands, but it is not done in a very religious manner, kind of thing. Okay, so the next question is, okay, I have identified that there is a clutter, there are a lot of things that are there, how do we go about doing it? Right. A simple thing would be identify those which is basically you don't need it, kind of thing, right? And sometimes you would see that if you go talk to a developer, like as a DevOps, if you go talk to a developer, do you need this machine? He will say yes, and he may not have accessed it at all. Just stop it for some time, see if he comes back. Otherwise, go and delete it after some time. Right. I mean, these are small things, but as you go ahead, as your number of clusters increases, as your number of nodes increases, beyond 100, beyond 200, it becomes a maintenance nightmare. So that's where you go into usage of these things. There is also open source part that you can use with kube capacity and kube jenter, which will basically help you to automate some of these things, right? So when you bring up a node for somebody, you can actually have an end date to it, to say after this date just shut it down. It can be automated also, right? You don't have to do anything manual there. So once you start doing these automations, it helps you to organize it. You don't have to get involved at all, because there is an end date to whatever you bring. You know what is the cost involved. What are the recommendations? As I said, so you need to understand the cluster resources, what you are using it, where you are using. You would have just launched something and not using it. So you should understand why you are doing it. Maybe have it a habit to do like 2 weeks once. So as you go ahead, you will move that to like once a month kind of thing. But execute these commands, look at your clusters, go back, look at your each of the clusters, how many clusters you are running, is it needed itself kind of thing, what are the capacities that it has and what is it using it kind of thing, right? Similarly, as I pointed, right, just do a kube delete. I mean, somebody had given me this sticker yesterday, right? Delete everything or reboot everything kind of thing. Just delete those unnecessary pods that are there. It's just adding to your entire cost. It is, and also you have to maintain it at some point kind of thing. Right, and also it is easier as you look at your usage with various commands that I was actually showing up to figure out what percentage of your CPU is getting used. If there is like 1%, 2%, you can actually reduce a X large to a large machine, or as you keep trying out, right, over a period of a couple of months, you can actually bring it down to a very smaller set of machines kind of thing, and the performance is not impacted, right? It's still running the same applications with the same performance, but at a lesser cost kind of thing, right? And I think the other important thing also is on the namespace. A lot of us in the Josh of setting up things, we actually do the default namespace part of it. It is good to have your namespace, have a good defined namespace, which helps you to distinguish when you want this namespace, what does it do, how does it help you overall. If you were to organize it, the namespace would be very important also, and the labels with this namespace also adds good value there kind of thing. And finally, the monitoring and the automation part of it, as I said, as you keep looking at your monitors, graphs, and it will actually tell you how your cluster has been and how it has been used over a period of time kind of thing. That's it. And this is my email ID. You can reach me here. You can also scan this if you want to discuss more about this. I'll be happy to take some questions.
Hi Vinay.
Hey.
I for one am guilty of a lot of the things that you pointed out. Could you give us a few examples of what could be good namespace nomenclature strategies and things like that?
Definitely, yeah. There are two types of companies, right, where you give service to somebody else, and or you are basically creating a cluster for your customers, or a cluster for your own products, or your own applications, or your microservice kind of thing. When you actually look at namespace nomenclatures, what I call as, make it very simple to tell that, okay, this is the application. Ideally, I would also go to one level below. To put it can have multiple microservices also in your namespace, right? So one level below to also identify the versioning there. So looking at it, you should be able to say, okay, this namespace has these things. I mean, obviously you can do get pods, get all your applications running there, but have it very small, and at a very high level you can put your application, what it does kind of thing, right? With couple of other parameters to say, like when it was started also. I mean, obviously there are a lot of dates and all those things are there, but it helps to put it in the thing, because when you pull some of this information outside of your cluster, this would really help you there.